Hi, so as Alicia said, we are both part of BTO Youth, and I'm on the Youth Advisory Panel. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to draw 3 different kinds of birds as part of our autumn draw along. So we're going to be doing geese as part of the geese migration, redwing, and also a waxwing. And we're going to start with the geese as a kind of a warm-up activity. Geese, this is going to be what we're going to be aiming to draw, and we're going to be exploring patterns and shapes. The next thing we're going to be drawing is the redwing, exploring the use of colour, and again a bit of different techniques. And finally we're going to be drawing the waxwing, which is going to be fully coloured. So you're just going to be needing, I'm going to be using a brush pen, which is just one of these with a nice thick nib. But you can use a felt tip pen or a pencil. I'll be using a little pencil as well to do some of the sketches first. And then for the redwing, ideally you'd need a red pen, please, just to add that little red detail with the berries and things. And with the waxwing, I'm going to be using pan paints, which are these, but they're quite like watercolours, and you can use anything you want, pencil, pen, paint, like honestly anything, just to add that colour for the waxwing, because they're such colourful birds, and autumn is such a beautiful, really vibrant time of the year. So, as I said, we're going to start with the geese, so let's get started. So the picture that we're going to be drawing from is hopefully on the screen now. I'll pop it on in post. We're obviously looking at a big cloud of geese in this, but I'm going to pick out just a few. I think the big thing about when you're drawing a big flock of animals is trying to work out those patterns, because obviously they produce patterns when they're flying, but their wings are forming lots of different patterns as well. And so, yeah, I think the big thing is looking at what shapes they form. So quite a lot of the geese have both their wings up. So we're going to start by drawing one of them. So they've always got this nice curve at the underside of their body, like that. And this then goes into the neck of the bird, which is just a sort of smooth line outwards, like so. You want to curve the tail of the bird into just like this. And then this is going up into 2 wings. So one is going backwards slightly in a triangle, and one is going forward slightly in a sort of curved triangle, like so. And then this steps down into the neck of the bird and the head of the bird. So that's one of your geese. And then with all of these, because it's kind of a pattern, I'm just going to shade them in. So I'm just filling them in with the brush pen, like so. And because there's lots of geese migrating, and they're all in different positions, we're going to do a few of the different shapes. So this is a warm-up activity, so it is going to be about 5 minutes. So the next one that we're going to draw has its wing going downwards. So we're going to start from the back end of the goose and move it up into a slight hump, like so. And then bring it out into the neck and hump, a little hump for the head. Then we're going to continue the neck of the bird and then pull down into the wing, which again is a triangle shape. And connect that up to the tail, which is a small triangle at the end. Once again, just fill that in. So the next goose that we're going to select from the image is one which has its wing kind of half coming up. So I think the nice thing about drawing birds in flight is that you can see the kind of their anatomy as they move. So this one we're going to start with the wing, because it's a bit of a funny shape. It's a sort of like a lead shape, like if you imagine a bookshelf or a book, it's that kind of shape. So that's the shape I'm describing, and that's the movement that the wing is making, the shape the wing is making. And that curves into a little pointed tail, and then dips down into the belly of the goose, and then out again into the neck of the bird, and then the head and the beak, just like so. So you can see what I'm doing as well is I'm trying to place them on a page where it looks like they're kind of moving in formation, because geese often move in that nice V shape. So the next one we're going to do is going to go about here, and that's going to have both of its wings going down this time, but you can see both, whereas in some of the others you can only see one. So again, we're going to start with the tail of the bird and move it up into the hump of the back, and then straighten it out into the neck and the head. And then because you can see both wings going down, it's like two triangles on top of each other. So you've got the first triangle and then the second triangle. And then connecting up to the neck. And again, just filling it in. Like so. So the next one has just one wing going down again, so a bit like this one, just to finish the pattern. So again, it's just a triangle down and then straight across, a little hump for the head. And it's just a straight line for the beak, just kind of going straight out. So we've got two more to do to kind of finish the formation. So this one has one wing going up and one wing going down because, you know, it's another stage of the movement. So we're going to start with the upward wing, which is kind of like a rectangle, but, well, an oblong really. It's kind of on its side being stretched out. And then this goes into the tail of the bird and also into the neck and the head. Like so. And then down into the point of the pointy triangle of the other wing. So rectangle, triangle, and then like a straight line going through the two. And finally we're just gonna do one more which has its wing, just one wing going up. So we'll start with the tail this time. It's just a sort of straight line. Then going up into a slightly curved triangle which has a flick at the top, like so. And that's the wing. And then curving into the belly of the goose and then up into the head and the bill. And there you go, that's the kind of our warm-up, that's some patterns. So geese migrating, a real lovely autumn phenomenon. If you've seen it, please say in the comments. It's always lovely to see them. So while you're finishing off, I'm gonna get the next bird up. So the next thing we're gonna be drawing is a redwing. So again, another really beautiful bird to see in autumn. Here we go. And I'll just take us back to the one that we're going to be aiming for. So we're aiming for something like this. We're going to just bring out the colours of the berries and a little bit of the colour under its wing. It's redwing, its namesake. And as you can see with this bird, we've just focused on one, and we've also added some detail around its feathers, because redwings are a member of the thrush family, so they've got these beautiful speckles on its belly, around its eyes, etc. So we're going to be focusing on a little bit of shapes again, but mostly on this technique and adding this colour for the first time as well. So, if you get a new sheet of paper, we're going to sketch this out in pencil first, I think. So, or if you haven't got a pencil, pen is fine again, but I'm just going to go through shapes first. So, with the redwing, again, I've popped the reference photo here, I hope. So the redwing has got a beautiful circular face, so we're going to start with just sketching that out, nice and simple. And then we're going to continue that face into the beak of the bird. So the beak is just a kind of curved triangle. It's quite a slim beak, just like so, and it's kind of halfway up that circle that you drew for the face, and slightly curved at the end. And then it goes down into to connect back up to that circle, and then it comes out again into the chest of the redwing. So you want to just kind of do a curved line coming from that circle, coming out slightly, and then going in underneath the bird, because obviously it's sitting on this branch with the berries. And I'm going to pop back up and continue the back of the bird and the neck. So that again, just a nice curved line round like so. It's kind of, I don't know, like a boat shape. If you want a shape to compare it to. Okay, so then we're going to continue just that basic outline, so curving it round and continuing into the tail just here, like so. We're also going to mark on the wing of the bird. So that's, it's about here, kind of, it's quite high up on the redwing, kind of shoulder area of the bird, so it's sort of here. I'm going to mark that on with a nice straight line, and then kind of continuing it just because the feather comes across, the wing comes across like that. So just a nice straight line. And if you think about it, it's like a triangle in the middle of the bird. So feel free to mark it on as a triangle if that's easier. And we're also going to mark on the feet. So the feet are coming up from kind of this area of the wing. So if you can imagine where this ridge is from the kind of the smaller primary feathers, if you kind of imagine drawing a diagonal line down, the leg nearest us starts here. So again, we're just going to mark that on with a couple of straight lines, curve it around, and then it gets a little bit narrower coming down towards the branch itself. So just nice and narrow, and marking on the edges of the feet, which are just, again, straight lines curving with a nail, like so. And then we're going to mark on the other leg, which is exactly the same, but just a tiny bit smaller because of perspective. And again, marking on those claws. I'm going to mark on the branch as just one sort of smooth line, like so. And the berries are just circles, so I'm going to again mark those on nice and clearly. And I'm doing them around its feet because in the photo it is resting on a lot of them. But you can put them wherever you fancy. Your image can be full of red berries. The last thing we're going to mark on in pencil is the eye of the bird. Again, and it's just a nice circle, just opposite the bill, like so. Okay, so if you're ready, hopefully to continue, feel free to pause if you're not ready. We're going to start adding pen and some of those techniques that we talked about. So we're going to start with the bill, so just following over your pencil line into the head of the bird, and you're literally just kind of going over it at this point. You're not adding anything new, we're just making that line nice and strong. And also the good thing about making these lines nice and strong is if you want to colour your bird in, you've got a nice outline in black just to go over again. Okay, so just continuing following your pencil lines, the feet, the berries, everything. You just want to have it nice and clear. Marking on the branch as well. Okay, so once you've got your basic outline, we're going to start adding some of the detail and practicing some of those techniques that I've done in previous draw-alongs. So the big thing is the wing. So you've got these nice staggered parallel lines showing the feathers of the wing. So we're going to mark those on first. So we're just following this line, this straight line that you've done as the main bit of the wing. We're just going to layer a few on top. And you don't have to hold your pen the whole way down. And it's better if you just kind of stroke it really gently, like so. And if you do it as delicately as possible and don't press down the full way, then you can get this kind of like slightly more like kind of faded effect, I guess. And because the wing has feathers going this way as well as this way, we're going to mark on a few of those. We're also going to mark on the kind of the primary feathers, the smaller feathers. So that's just a couple of like L-shaped lines that are linked together. And we're going to indicate the fact that these continue across the the shoulder of the bird, the back of the bird, like so. So we're going to mark on the nostril next and the eye of the bird. So we're going to hop up to the face for a little bit. So the eye, I always like to keep a little bit of a white sparkle because I think it gives them a bit more character. So when you're filling it in, if you do this kind of thing, so kind of press down mostly on one side and flick up at the other. And then that gives you that nice little white flesh. And then you kind of go across like so to give it a little eyebrow. So like that. We're also going to mark on the nostril, which is just a little black spot, and the edge of the bill, which is just a line. He looks quite unhappy now we've added that. Okay, so the next thing that we want to be doing is adding these speckles. So a lot of this is just this kind of movement, so kind of like you're pressing down a lot to start with, and then flicking off, and that gives it this nice kind of like raindrop shape. And because it's a speckled, because red wings are speckled, this works quite well. So we're going to do that kind of movement on the breast of the bird, so this bit here. So just pressing down and then flicking up. And we'll do some by its feet, and there's a few at the rump as well. You can do your flicks close together or far apart, and you can have as many as you want. And there's a few on the back of the bird, just indicating some feathers and stuff. There we go. Okay, so the redwing also has this white stripe near its eye, and so we're gonna indicate that by showing some of the darker patches instead. So in fact, if I show you what I've done before, that's a little bit easier to explain. So this is the white patch here, and what we're wanting to do is make this nice black ridge here to indicate the fact that there is a white ridge. So you're kind of just doing a little bit of a comparison, so using these patterns to kind of highlight the fact that something's there that we're not drawing. So for this redwing, we're just going to do the same kind of flicking technique, but a little bit closer together, and kind of hinting at the dark patch on the top of the head and not going too near the eye, because that's where the white patch is. Okay. So once you finish that, I'm going to start adding a little bit of colour. So in this piece I want to use colour quite sparingly, because I just think it will make it more impactful for when you use it. So I'm just going to be using 2 different shades of red. So the first is this kind of rusty red, because that's what's under the wing of the bird. Is a red wing, that's where it gets its name. And so I'm just going to literally kind of mark that on, almost just blocking it. It doesn't need to be speckled, because it's quite a blocked area on the bird itself. I've added a couple of little speckles, but just looking at that image, you know, most of the red is under the wing. And then there's this little patch by its neck as well, which I'll just mark on using the same kind of raindrop technique that we mentioned earlier. And then with the berries, I'm going to do the same kind of shape as the eyes, so kind of pressing down a lot on one side and then flicking up to make this white patch, because the berries are really shiny. And so just filling them in. You don't have to do it like this, but it's just how I quite like doing it. And they don't all have to have the shine. There you have it. So a red wing with some red berries. So hopefully that made sense. So the last bird that we're going to be drawing is the waxwing. And so again, I'll get those up on my screen. Oops. I don't want to open the copy. The joys of 2 screens. Okay, so our next bird, as I said, is the waxwing, and with this one we're going to be adding colour, and we're not going to be doing the same kind of black guidance lines that we've been doing in a lot of the other draw-alongs. So for this, ideally it'd be good to have some paints or some brushes or some pencils, something to add a bit of colour to the waxwing. But we're going to start off just with a pencil, sketching the waxwing's outline, similar to how we did the redwing. And once again, reference photo, hopefully around here somewhere. Okay, so we're going to start off the same way we did with the redwing, just drawing a nice circle for the waxwing's head. And we're going to curve that down from this side, because it's looking right, into the back of the waxwing. Kind of comes out where the feather is, and then goes down in a sort of straightish line until it curves, and then it's going to go into the tail. So that's kind of a guidance line for us. We're going to mark on the waxwing's gorgeous crest. So that's a nice straight line from kind of this side of the circle. So the right hand side of the circle, you want a straight line going up just like so, and kind of like curving, slightly flicking. I'm just going to indicate the edge roughly of the crest. And then we're going to continue that out into a really short stubby bill. It's kind of an almond shape. And this goes down into a kind of slightly feathered, as in not a straight line, front of the throat of the bird, before curving out into the chest. And actually I'm going to take out my rubber because I've not made my waxwing nearly as wide as it needs to be. So we're going to continue that front of the waxwing down. It's kind of, I suppose the whole bird is quite kind of oval shaped. If you can imagine an oval like this, that's kind of the shape it's making. And then the back of the bird down like so. And the tail of the bird is kind of not quite straight, but it's like this, and it's kind of sort of like an M shape at the end. You see it's got a nice wiggle, like so. And then the edge of the wing is just a straight line marked with a curve. We've got 2 feet coming out at the bottom, just small details, so nice, just a straight line and a couple of flicks for the toes, and then indicating that branch with a couple of smooth, slightly curved lines. We're also going to mark on that curve of the bill and how that goes into the eye, which is again a circle, but it's kind of following this black patch up. And it's also pointed at the corners. So we're going to mark that one. Okay. So with this, I just want to make sure that we get that nice outline properly. So the crest of the bird and the kind of black markings here and here, and the eye, the slight curve of the bill, which I've made too pointy. And then the kind of big oval back and body of the bird coming into this tail, which has got a little bit of a yellow patch at the end, which I'll mark on. So it's a really magnificent, really striking autumnal winter bird. That's always like a pleasure to see in the UK. How many of you have seen waxwing? Do let us know. Okay. So this is obviously what we're aiming for. So the first thing that I'm going to note is that we've got this eye, and we've got some detail on the beak of the bird and some detail here. And a lot of this I've marked out in a brown pen, just because I wanted us to focus on colour rather than the shapes of this bird. So I'm going to do the same here. So this is where it depends what you've got. I'm using a brown brush pen, but feel free to use pens or pencils. If you've got brown, that is ideal, but no worries if you don't. You can do it in black instead. So we're just going to kind of do the outline, so kind of following roughly what we did before. We're going to do these L's that we did for the redwing, showing the smaller feathers. And we're going to do some U's for the bigger feathers just here. And same on the other side. We're going to mark on the chest of the bird as well, so that's mostly just following your pencil line. It's got a curve here, kind of dips in slightly and then it comes back out again. And then at the bottom, you can see it's slightly fluffy. So we're going to just do that thing where we kind of dash on and off the page slightly and give it that feathered approach, rather than just a straight line. We're also going to continue it up slightly into the head of the bird, but again, that kind of stroking it rather than making it a straight line. And that's all I'm going to draw on in the brown pen. Next, I'm going to use my kind of ready pen, and I'm gonna mark that on with, I'm gonna do the crest of the bird. So again, we're starting from the black bit that we marked on here, we're starting from just above that, again following your line, but because it's a crest it doesn't need to be a straight line, and it's better if you do this sort of slightly like you're stroking the page, like this sort of, so you're lifting it off but you're kind of making continuous movement, and it makes it kind of jagged. And so when you're doing the crest of the bird, it works really well. Just like so. It's got a proper punk hairdo. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mark on the other red bit that goes down into the back of the eye, just like so. And I'm just going to add some of that detail, just using that same kind of technique. There's a tiny bit of red, reddy kind of pinky red here and here as well, which I'm just going to mark on like so. And so it's again just this constant brushing technique. Next, I'm going to mark on some of that yellow. So it's got yellow sparks here and sort of going down on the edges of its wings at the base of the bird. So I'm just marking those on with the L shapes, and then with the ones at the bottom, I'm literally just going to kind of shade in what we marked out before. And I'm going to mark on some of those black feathers too, so just continuing those lines. So it's kind of like a tick shape on the wings here. And then the same the other way. And they also continue up just slightly, these parallel lines that we did before on the redwing, like that. And we're also going to mark on that black throat of the bird and also around its eye. So again, just kind of slightly on and off to give it that nice textured feel, and then kind of filling it in more or less. We're also going to mark on the bill. And the eye, using the same technique that we used in the redwing, so kind of flicking it slightly to give it that nice shine. And again, just kind of flicking up into the crest to show that nice kind of black band around its eye. Like so. And the last colour that we need to mark on is just these little red, tiny red feathers that are coming on here and here at the edges of the wings. So we're just going to mark those on with just a couple of red lines. Like so. Ooh, and the feet. The feet we'll just mark in black. Just gripping the bunch like so. Okay, fantastic. So we've got our outline in pen done now. And so next, if you can keep going in pen, you can do pencil, you can do paint. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be using this lime wash paint pan set, which is very like watercolour. So I've not got loads of colours, but you can mix your colours to get the colours you need. So the main colour we're going to be needing is kind of like a beige colour. It's sort of pinky brown, and that's the colour of the waxwing. And it's sort of like this kind of colour, so I'm just going to mix a few of my colours together. Okay, so that's kind of the colour that I'm going to go for. And it's literally just a case of filling your bird in. So I always try and keep darkest around the edges. So you see there's more kind of darkness around the kind of shoulders, this patch of the bird really, and this patch of the bird. So I start with putting my paint down there and then kind of make it get a little bit lighter towards the centre, and when going up into the head of the waxwing as well. So we're going to do the crest next, once you've done that kind of the beige body of the waxwing. So crest is kind of reddy orange, so kind of mixing some reds and some oranges. It's very, very colourful, very, very striking, that sort of colour. And then again, it's darkest near the eye, where it's most vibrant, and then it gets less vibrant, so kind of just following your lines within your lines. You can go out them, of course, if you want, just like so. Adding a little bit more of that blush detail to blend it slightly, like so. next thing is this kind of slate grey, kind of blue tail of the waxwing, and it also has a little bit here as well on the kind of the front. So for that, I'm going to use some kind of blues, a little bit of grey, and then again just kind of, if you're using paints, it's nice to try and blend them with what you've already put down. You can use your fingers for that, like I do, or the brush. Just up like so. And then there's quite a lot of dark grey at the very bottom of this, just before the yellow that you've already filled in. So for that I'm just going to use some bog standard grey, which I have lost. Here we go. And just flicking that up slightly, going up from those yellows that we've already done. And then obviously you've got the black, which is these bits here, just marking those on. And again on the other side, leaving a little bit at the edge because obviously there's some white bits on, which you don't want to lose. And colouring in the bill, that same kind of slaty colour. And the feet. And then the only other thing to do is the tree branch it's sitting on, which is just a sort of brown colour. And there you go. That's your coloured waxwing. And you should be able to achieve these effects using anything you want, keeping dark patches towards the edges, moving lighter into the centre. You can do that with pencils, you can do it with pen if you use cross-hatching techniques, which again we've talked about in previous draw-alongs. And I can do a revisiting session for those techniques if people would like me to. But yeah, so that's your coloured waxing. And that's all of the birds for today, so I really hope that you've enjoyed the draw-along, and thanks for taking part. And if you'd like to see more draw-alongs, if you'd like to see particular birds for Lucy and I to do, then please let us know in the comments or get in touch via the BTO's website. Thank you!